This is the Eastern Business Report, where we look at the business ecosystem in the Eastern region and discuss topics affecting the region's economy. But first, let's take a look at some of the major business and development stories making headlines across the Southeast, beginning in Ebonyi State, where a fire outbreak has gutted the cold store of the Ebonyi State Ministry of Health, destroying drugs, vaccines, and property worth millions of naira. The incident was disclosed by the State Commissioner for Health, Moses Ekuma, during an on-the-spot assessment, noting that the fire occurred on Friday at Block 5 Centenary City, Abakaliki. The blaze destroyed vaccines carrier, cold chain boxes, laptops, official documents, 5 refrigerators, 2 solar-powered refrigerators, and 45 solar batteries and inverters, including hospital beds and mattresses supplied by the National Primary Health Care Development Agency for distribution, were also lost. The incident has significantly disrupted immunization operations in the state, with critical vaccines and infrastructure wiped out by the fire, as Ekuma lamented the scale of the damage, stating the vital vaccines stored in the facility were completely destroyed. He added that although the loss was massive, no lives were lost, and he commended emergency responders for containing the fire and preventing it from spreading further. The commissioner noted that the exact cause of the fire remains unknown, but disclosed that the facility had been without public electricity supply for about 5 days, further stating that efforts were underway to restore power through the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, while the solar backup system was also non-functional at the time. Moving to Abia State, where the Abia State Governor, Alex Otti, has commissioned an upgraded 5 megavolt amps power station at Abia State University, increasing its capacity from 2.5 megavolt amps to improve the electricity supply within the institution. The commissioning took place over the weekend, March 27, in Uturu, as part of activities marking the university's combined 30th to 32nd convocation ceremony. The development was disclosed in a statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Ukaha Njoko Ukaha. Beyond the power facility, the Governor also commissioned 3 retrofitted hostels, Block A, B, and C, and performed the foundation laying ceremony for a new 5,000 bed capacity male and female hostels, as well as new Faculty of Agriculture and Faculty of Law buildings, as he also flagged off a 1.8 kilometer internal road project within the campus. The governor emphasized that the project reflects his administration's commitment to solving critical infrastructure challenges in the state education sector, as he described the upgraded power station as a fulfillment of a key promise to the university community, noting the efforts were underway to ensure a stable and sustainable electricity supply. Otti also reiterated his preference for consolidating the university campuses in Uturu to improve coordination and resource utilization. Still from Abia State, where Governor Alex Otti of Abia State has put to rest the speculations that Abia is seeking reimbursement for federal road projects executed by the state government, saying the federal government has no plan to pay back. Speaking at his monthly media briefing on Friday night, Mr. Otti said the new federal government policy was that states could toll such roads if they want their money back. He sympathized with those peddling the reimbursement rumor, saying they were speaking out of ignorance. He reiterated his administration's commitment to fixing all Abia roads, federal states, saying they're all used by Abia residents. Governor Otti also addressed compensation concerns for the Umuahia Ikotebeni Road rehabilitation, saying he expected the federal government to pay since it awarded the project without funding. A former Anambra State governor and Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has said Nigeria's garment and footwear industry in Abia State can generate revenue comparable to the country's oil earnings if properly managed and supported. Obi stated this in a statement shared on his X, formerly Twitter handle, on Sunday, following his visit to Aba, where he engaged with stakeholders of the Africa Democratic Congress. The former governor said he visited the commercial hub on Saturday at the invitation of Senator Eyinaya Abaribe, commending him and his team for the reception, as he also praised Abia State Governor Alex Otti for efforts to develop Aba, popularly known as Eyimba City. Highlighting the economic potential of Aba, he reiterated the need for Nigeria to transition from a consumption-driven economy to a production-based one. Obi, however, identified leadership as critical to unlocking the country's economic potential, stressing the need for competence, compassion, and commitment in governance. Moving to River State, where the River State government has disclosed in court document that over 302 billion naira was allegedly spent during the 6-month emergency rule on the former sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ita Ibas, between March and August 2025. The revelations emerged from a Freedom of Information suit filed by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, before the High Court of Rivers State in Port Harcourt. According to the State Accountant General and the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Rivers State received over 253.48 billion naira from the Federation Account Allocation Committee within the 6 months. The government also disclosed that the state received 44.87 billion naira from other sources, bringing the total inflows to about 298.35 billion naira, while total expenditure during the period was put at over 302.35 billion naira. In an affidavit, the Rivers government stated that while 28 billion naira was approved for the installation of closed-circuit television at the State House, no money was eventually spent on the project. It also maintained that it was not denying SERAP's access to public records, insisting that the requested document had now been compiled and released in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act. It added that the government had substantially complied with SERAP's request and argued that the delay in releasing the information did not cause any specific or proven injury to the organization. For oil prosperity and assets not to continue to move into the hands of people outside the oil region, governors of the oil state have been urged to bid and acquire oil fields. The Ija South Council Worldwide, which handed down the demand in Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital, however, poured encomiums on the Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited for steady engagement with groups from the oil region. The IYC said monthly engagement of the people is the surest way to understand the feelings of the people and seek solution. Secretary General of the IYC made the call in Port Harcourt at the PINL Stakeholders Forums for Rivers, Imo, and Abia State, stating that it was long overdue for inclusion of more individuals and corporate investors from the region in the management of its oil resources. He stated that indigenous stakeholders must play a central role in decisions affecting oil assets within their region, noting that about 25 marginal oil fields were recently slated for allocation to individuals and entities outside the Niger Delta, despite being located within host communities. He further raised concerns over continued gas flaring by both international oil companies and indigenous operators, pointing out what he called the absence of sufficient gas processing infrastructure in host communities. Now from Edo State. The Edo State government has increased its monthly subvention to the state-owned Edo University, Yabom in Itasoko West local government area from 100 million naira to 250 million naira to enhance academic excellence. The Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Victor Ade Timerini, disclosed these at the institution's 7th convocation held in Iyamo on Saturday, where he said, on assumption of duty, the council requested an increase in the university's monthly subvention from 100 million naira to 250 million naira, and by October the monthly subvention was raised to 250 million naira. Governor Monday Okpebholo, in his address to the university, reaffirmed his administration's commitment to developing the institution into a world-class university. Governor Okpebholo, represented by his special advisor on policy and strategy, Professor Phillips Afia, pledged to provide quality education in line with his SHINE agenda as he promised to recalibrate the state educational system by ensuring the increased monthly subvention supports optimal performance. Finally, and still from Edo State, where in its bid to boost electricity supply to residents, the Edo State government has granted a license to Chinese firms to begin exploration with a view to generating electricity from coal deposits in the state. The Chinese firms are also to begin cement production and produce ceramic tiles from clay. The Commissioner for Mining, Andrew, who disclosed this in an interview, said Governor Okpebholo has given marching orders to the ministry to explore minerals across the state. Ijabi expressed optimism that revenue from the Ministry of Mining in a few years would be enough to run the state, stating that the feasibility study would show how many megawatts of electricity would be generated from coal.